I don't believe that you can fix someone. That was never my goal here. Daniel was 14 when the bomb hit. Hiding behind a tree saved his life. But after losing both of his arms, he said he wished it hadn't. He had lived 2 years without arms. Daniel is just one of over 50,000 amputees left in the wake of the bloodiest war Africa has ever known. The plan was to go to Sudan and 3D print prosthetic arms for Daniel. Our goal was to 3D print arms for Daniel so that he could feed himself again and take care of himself. And our goal was to then also teach other people, Daniel and other people, to 3D print prosthetics so that the work could continue after we left. We printed an arm for Daniel. He fed himself again for the first time in 2 years. And we taught 8 young men in the Nuba Mountains who had never owned a laptop and never seen a 3D printer, even heard of a 3D printer, to print prosthetics. But that was just the beginning. We wanted to leave his village with the tools and knowledge of how to create these prosthetics long after we had gone.
This is going to be the hand that we work on for Daniel.
I still pinch myself the fact that I was able to teach a group of people to print. Many who had never worked with computers before and never seen a 3D printer before, and I taught them how to make arms. That's what technology has the potential to do. And the work continues. They're continuing to make arms. And it has forever changed the relationship of being an amputee. I think what's profound that we did is that we lit the fuse. We showed that a certain misfortune called amputation can be addressed through technology. What excites me is not that we've changed the way the amputation is thought of in South Sudan and the Nuba Mountains. What excites me is the fact that everything else that's going to happen after this that we didn't even instill, how they deal with other things, how they modify the arm that we taught them how to make. That's, I think, where human brilliance and human ingenuity is going to take hold. And I guarantee in 1 year from now, when I go back, the arm that I taught them will be so much better, will be so much more precise, will be so much more specifically appropriate for the region and for the needs of the people that actually are going to be using that arm. I have a process. And the process is you commit, and then you figure out how the heck you're going to do it. The second I saw the story about Daniel, I didn't need to reread it. When you look at a picture of a boy with bandaged stump arms, I mean, what do? Do you just, oh, that's too bad, and close the computer and go to bed? What do you do? You can't put the pieces back together in someone else's life. But maybe if we print them new pieces, they'll start to learn to put them back together themselves. My name is Mick Ebeling, and I'm the founder of Not Impossible Labs. Everything that Not Impossible Labs is about using technology for the sake of humanity, using technology to do good in the world. I've just always been fascinated with technology, so I think there's this thing in me that loves to see things that are supposed to not be done. So how do you look at something that someone says, oh, you can't do that, or that's impossible, and then how do you reverse that and actually make it possible? And I think this fascination, or this using the tool to overcome no and overcome impossible, has been something that just recently has just become this natural extension of who I am. Project Daniel says to the world that you don't have to be an expert in any type of technology to go out and do something. I am far from an expert in 3D printing, but I was able to go do something. So use me as a case study. Project Daniel came about because I was at a dinner having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about what I was doing with Not Impossible, talking about this concept of technology and humanity. And he casually says, you know, I work with some people and I've spent a lot of time working with people in Africa, and there's a lot of amputees over there. And I said very casually, you know, I could be over there next week and we could be printing these people limbs with 3D printers. And he said, what did you just say? And I was very kind of cocky about the whole thing. And I said, yeah, this is totally possible. I just met a guy who created a thing called the RoboHand, and this is what he's doing. And yeah, we could totally do this. And he said, well, then let's do it. And I said, something you should know about me. Don't taunt and don't dare me to do stuff like that, because I instantly will do it. It's the easy button for me. You want to get me to do something, then dare me and I'll probably do it. And so we talked for a second and I said, yeah, let's do it. And he said, all right, well, there's this doctor in Sudan named Dr. Tom Katena. And he told me his story about how he's this doctor and he's in the Nuba Mountains, and the Nuba Mountains is pretty much the only hospital in the area, and it takes care of all of the people who are in this struggle between Sudan and the Nubans. And he said, this doctor is over there. I'd love for you to meet him. I'd love for you to know him. And I said, great. I came home from a dinner at 11 o'clock at night, and I was actually sitting right here. And I opened up my laptop and I researched this Dr. Tom, and had Dr. Tom had helped this young boy named Daniel Omar, 14 years old, who had his arms blown off. I didn't need to reread it. The second I read it, the second I saw the photos of Daniel with 2 stumps bandaged. I have 3 boys. I couldn't imagine that ever happening to any of my boys. And I just knew I had to do something. There's no desk jobs in the region that Daniel's from. You're a farmer, you raise goats, you live off the land. So when your ability to actually work the land is taken away from you, your ability to essentially live is taken away from you. I mean, it's really that simple. Someone else has to do all the things that you had to do to live, especially losing both hands, both arms. There's really nothing that you can do. The thing to understand about Africa is that there is a paper-thin line between life and death. And that line is being able to eat and being able to drink. If you can accomplish that, then you have the chance to live. When you take away the ability to feed yourself and use your arms to feed yourself, you've now created a situation that is virtually a guarantee that you're not going to be able to survive unless there's someone there to take care of you. The irony is that the people are so loving, so passionate, so giving, is that they gladly help other people. They gladly would take care of Daniel. I mean, you want to talk about a motivation not to fail? Have a boy with no arms whose name is Daniel and your whole project is Project Daniel sit there and watch you do what you're supposed to be doing and fixing for him every day. And then you run into every obstacle that could be delivered. The printer jamming, the filament melting, the electricity not being right, everything that could malfunction or go wrong did. But at the end of the day, you're still looking across at Daniel, sitting there, you know, playing his 2-in-1 with his stump arms, and every now and then kind of looking up, not speaking English. I mean, that's why it got done. You just figure out how to overcome all those obstacles. And so I just learned how to print 2 weeks before, and now I'm taking them apart and disassembling them and putting them back together again. I had no idea the consistency of filament and what conditions would make filament melt. So we just problem solved, and we went in and we realized, okay, we can't print during the day because it's excruciatingly hot. Let's print at night. So, well, first we put fans on it, and the fans didn't cool it down enough. So then we printed at night. Then at night, because the overhead lights and the lights of the printers, bugs started to be attracted to it. So the fans blew bugs into the engine or the motor, and then the motor jammed because there was bugs in the motor. So I had my filament at the right temperature, I had my motor at the right temperature, but now I had bugs in the motor. But we just kept printing. And then on November 11th, we fit Daniel with his arm. And after all the prototyping and all the misprints and all the this and that and the other, he put his arm on for the first time. we took a little extra piece of plastic and melted a little handle so that someone could slot a tin spoon into it, and he fed himself for the first time in 2 years. That's one of the highlights of my life. You know, the psychological effects is such a first world concept. You're alive or you're dead. That's the concept in Sudan. You're alive or you're dead. You can feed yourself, you can drink water, you're alive. You can't, you're dead. So something horrible happens to you, are you alive or dead? It's really that simple. And I didn't understand that at first because I watched people trip or fall or hurt themselves, and everybody would laugh. And I thought it was a cold, somewhat cruel response. I almost knocked myself unconscious on a low-hanging beam, and everybody broke into hysterics. And I kind of thought, wow, that's really not nice. And what I learned was, you're not dead. So if you're not dead, there's a bit of rejoicing that needs to take place. So yeah, you hurt yourself, but you're not dead. And so psychological trauma, of course it's there. I don't think it's really talked about because, look, are you alive or dead? And we got to get back to farming, and we got to get back to raising our goats. So let's move on. What I learned was that when you focus on one person and helping one person, then the ramifications kind of ripple out exponentially. If you start with the exponential and you start with the community, the crowd of people that you're trying to help, people with malaria, or people who are hungry, or people who are impoverished, you can't really bite into that. It's hard to articulate, it's hard to wrap your arms around. What I learned was when you focus on Daniel, you can do it. It's achievable. And that's the whole concept of help one, help many. Start with one person, help one person. Once you do that, many will be helped afterwards. I came to Sudan with 3D printers, laptops, spools of plastic, and the goal to build Daniel an arm. You ready? But it's never about just one person.
You just double click. So this is the hand, 90 degrees.
And it did.